Okay, ready?
Pam, you're just better at making copies. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Chops Podcast. My name is Jack Hinkle.
My name is Steve Peterson.
And Steve, we have another guest today.
Whoop, whoop.
This is
Oh, my gosh. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see her right now. This is our friend and colleague, Christa Jones.
Welcome.
Woo!
Welcome,
to
Christa,
Chops
to Chops Podcast.
Christa, it's so wonderful to have you.
Hi, guys.
Look at her. You got
That's
cool
good.
glasses.
Thanks. They're
Those are-
new. I'm new to the glasses community.
Oh, they are new?
I didn't used to wear glasses.
Were you a
they-
contact person, or did you just...
Are they real glasses? Or are they just a fashion statement?
They're for real. I have astigmatism. Yeah. But I went 33 years with never wearing glasses, and then I suddenly needed them.
Wow. Do they help?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I find myself going like this less often. You can
Good.
only see on YouTube if what I'm doing.
That's like the teacher look.
That
You
is
got
true.
that out. You're like,
You're like, wow, she's really good at that.
you're like, put away those claves. Gosh, put those down. Okay.
Yeah.
So today's date is March 11th, correct? And Jack, we'll get into Chris's thing here about what's happening, but like in the school community today, did you feel like a little change of pace with the daylight savings time?
Is it you too?
Yeah, I had to turn on my lights coming to school. I was like, what is going on with this? It was
Yeah.
completely black when I came to school this
Yeah,
morning.
me too. That
Well,
was
you
sad.
teach earlier than I
do teach
so-
earlier than you. That was tough. Yeah, we were in all the classes, and the kids were just kind of like, no, yeah.
How was
I
your
was
energy? How was yours?
I see. I'm okay because I kind of prepped myself. I went kind of crazy, and I went 15 minutes earlier each day last week.
Okay, I was going to say that sarcastically, but I didn't know that.
No,
'cause
well,
you
say
said-
it sarcastically because it's true.
What'd you do, Jack? Like set your timer back 15 minutes every day?
I did, and I feel great today. How do you feel?
Well, I went to bed at 8:30 last night.
Dude, it's still light out at 8:30. That's like 7:30. It was like
Dude,
7:30.
I don't care if it's high noon. If I'm tired, I'm taking a nap. I call it bed. Okay. I went to bed last night at 8:30. Okay. I watched a documentary on Leonard Bernstein for like 20 minutes, and then I went to bed. Then I listened to a UK basketball review, listened to a podcast as I fell asleep. I'm fine. I'm locked in. I feel like I have huge bags under my eyes, though. Like I got like prunes under my eyes. Okay,
Wow.
so
Your words are
our
mine.
friend and colleague, Christa Jones, is here. And we have known Christa Jones for a while.
Be 11 years? No, 12 years.
12
years.
We first met Christa Jones as a student teacher who was attending Indiana Wesleyan in Marion, Indiana. But you had also gone to Northridge High School. Shout out Raider Nation.
What up?
Whoop. Okay, down the road, Middlebury, Indiana, Northridge High School. And then you went to Indiana Wesleyan, and then you student taught with us in the fall of 2012.
You're right. Nice job. Dang.
But that's what it's up. So that's how we met you. But then Jack was in high school.
I was
Yeah.
a senior when Christa student taught.
Little baby.
I was.
Man.
I was.
Golly, that was some fun times when you student taught at Concord.
That was great. Many fun car rides to
Oh.
and from competitions.
Oh my
and
gosh,
Cedar
in Cedar
Point.
Point. Oh my gosh. It was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a while ago. So Christa, we invited you here today because you happen to be an educator and happen to be a music educator. And you also have a few different looks. You have different views of music education that we're going to have a lot of fun for our people at home to get to participate in and kind of where your journey is taking you now, which I think is really exciting. But let's go back to younger Christa as far as like when you were at Indiana Wesleyan and you're the Indiana Wesleyan Wildcats.
You're right. Yeah.
Wow. Dang.
You
Okay.
did your research.
Well, show prep is important to
Yeah,
me.
of
Yeah,
course.
show prep. I mean,
So is lesson planning.
dang. No, it's not. No. I know where I'm going. I just don't know how I'm going to get there.
Almost had a spit take live on the show.
I know where
That
I'm
was
going.
very
I just
close.
don't know how I'm going to get there.
You would be a great Orff teacher.
See? See, Jack, like, really?
Except at the end, it's also, I don't know quite where we're going or
Okay.
quite how we're going to get there, but it's going to be beautiful. along
Okay,
the way.
it is going to be great. Okay, so you went to Indiana Wesleyan as a Wildcat, and what was 18, 19-year-old Christa thinking about the possibilities of music education?
Mm-hmm. Let's back this up even more.
Ooh.
Okay, we're getting in the Wayback Machine. So I knew that I wanted to be a music teacher since like 6th grade.
Dang.
And I was one of those unusual cases where I knew what I wanted to do like as a child. And then I went to college to do that thing, and I still liked it, and I kept doing it. And then I started doing it in real life, and I still liked it and kept doing it. You know, I think most people go on several different paths to discover who they are and what they're doing. And
Yeah.
I had one path.
Well,
that
so
was
if
being
we
a
go
music
back
teacher.
there then to Christa the child, like what was your inspiration or
Yeah.
like what was your model? Like, I want to do that.
Yeah. So I started playing piano as a young child. Like I was 5 years old, I think. And that was because my older brother was playing piano,
There you go.
and I wanted to do everything that he did.
Hmm.
And then in 6th grade, that was when I got to join band and choir, and I loved it. I felt like I had found my place in the world. And I don't know, I loved my teachers, and I just felt like I want to be on this track forever. I just want to keep this
So
going.
instrumental music and choir.
And you were a horn player?
Actually, I started on flute.
You started on flute?
I did, because that was the instrument that my family had. My uncle had played the flute.
Okay.
And so I actually really wanted to play the trumpet, but it was one of those things where, you know, instruments are expensive. And
Sure,
we had
and you
a
had a
flute.
flute.
And so I started playing the flute.
Okay.
And then in like 9th grade at a pep band game, I learned how to play the mellophone.
Shout out to all those shout out to all those mellophone players that are trying to learn that. She's like, yeah, in 2.5 hours in the Raider gym, I learned mellophone. And I'm like, the band director's like, you're in.
That's exactly what happened.
That's
so
awesome.
He was
Okay.
like, well, we actually need a horn player for next year. And so the next year I played, like my sophomore year in marching band, I played mellophone.
You're like, 3 buttons. This is easy.
Exactly, yeah. So then I played flute in like our top band. We had 2 bands, like a top tier and then
Yeah.
a concert band. So I played flute in the top band and horn in the second band.
I never knew you played flute. That's fascinating.
I did.
Cool.
And then my junior year, I played horn in the top band and trumpet in the second band because just why not? And then...
Then you were a drum major.
Oh, yeah. For marching band, I was drum major, junior and senior year. And then my senior year, I played horn in the top band and trombone in the second band.
She's trying to play every instrument before she
Well,
graduated.
I knew I wanted to be a band director. I thought I wanted to be a band director.
Okay,
That's-
good.
that's
Okay,
where- yeah.
okay. So that's what you wanted to be
That's
was
awesome.
was a band director. So then when you went to IWU, you were thinking band, and that's how your student teaching kind of ended up at Concord.
Mhm.
And because it was all band at that point, right?
So my degree is in choral and instrumental
Okay.
and general music education, K-12. So I still felt very passionate about choir enough to get my degree also in choral education, but I was pretty sure I was on the band track.
Mm-hmm.
And then one really great thing about the education program at Indiana Wesleyan is that they get you in the classroom very, very early. Very early, doing observations and then eventually doing some teaching as well. So I did a practicum my junior year in an elementary music classroom, and I loved it. And then, but I still was like, obviously I'm going to be a band director, duh. And so then, when I was student teaching, I was here with the marching band,
Mm-hmm.
but I was actually only here for half a semester technically. And then the other half of the semester I was at an elementary school, at Bristol Elementary School, but I kept doing marching band after school. So I was here the whole semester, just not during
Gotcha.
the school day.
Gotcha.
And I loved both experiences.
Okay.
What's really cool about teaching elementary general music is that you get to do a little bit of everything. You're teaching voice, you're teaching instruments, you're teaching folk dance, you're teaching like the whole person. And elementary school kids are so fun because they're just so puppy dogs. They're so excited to be there and learn, and they'll do anything. And
That's
yeah. So then I graduated in December, and the next fall there was an opening at one of the elementary schools here at Concord West Side. Shout out West Side.
Whoop, whoop.
West Side, Best Side.
You went to Wildcats to Wildcats.
I did.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I really like Wildcats.
Yeah, my name's Christa, and I really like Wildcats.
There's one thing you need to know about me.
I'm wild about Wildcats.
Have you seen my newest tattoo?
Yeah. She's got this big claw mark. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was at West Side.
So you got hired as that's a K through 4 center, and you started doing there. And how many years did you teach at West Side?
10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dang.
I know.
Veteran.
You got that 10-year tattoo.
Yeah.
Oh, Wildcat. Dubs, what up? Okay. So, wow. So you didn't expect maybe a few years before that you'd be in a K through 4 general music. So how did the reality of that set the first day of school and you're like, whoa.
Well, the first day of school, I don't know if any other first-year teachers have had this experience. Probably
Cry?
the answer is
Cry?
Yeah,
yes.
they're already going, yes, whatever you're saying, yes. Yes, fetal position. I'm still in it 6 years later.
16 cups
Mom,
of coffee.
Mom,
Yeah.
Mom.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. What?
Well, I remember, so as an elementary specialist, if it's art or music or whatever, usually the classroom teachers, the gen ed teachers will deliver their class to you, and they come into your room, and then they close the door. And so I remember these kids walking into my classroom. They were 4th graders, so they're old kids as far as I'm concerned, 9 and 10-year-olds. They came in, they sat down, the door closed, and I was the only grown-up in the room, and I was like, how could they leave me alone with these children? They don't even know
You're
who
like,
I am.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
Exactly. I was
Wait,
I'm not
I am the
qualified at all
adult.
to do this.
Wait.
What is happening right now?
We need assistance in the music room, please. Assistance in the music room.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a
So
really
you were
strange
going,
feeling.
oh no.
Oh, totally. But they were lovely. The kids were lovely. And I just, over the course of that first year, and when I started, I didn't even know if I would want to keep doing it at the elementary school level, but I just loved it so much. Like I said, I loved the variety of things that I could do with the kids, and the kids themselves were so fun and funny, and I don't know, I just fell in love. I realized it was something that I was also good at. I liked it, but also felt like I was pretty good at it.
See, I appreciate that you are confident in saying, I was good at it. I was good at it. I'm good at classroom management, and you don't need to apologize for that. And just going to say, and this is my experience. And then also, I don't know, if you're listening to this and not watching this, and I don't know if this would be in a reel, but when Christa said, I love the kids.
The eyes are.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she's
yes, that's
legit.
true.
She's talking.
No,
about
I can
that.
vouch for Krista's classroom management / knowing and loving the kids, because I remember the first time I think I met you was at the senior trip, right? We went to some Super 8 motel, and we did a drum corps show or something, and you walked in and you're like, hey Jack, and I'm like, who are you? You remember that? Because this is what Christa did to prepare for student teaching. She talked to Scott Spradling and said,
you were a student.
I was a student.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she talked to Scott Spradling and said, hey, can I get a roster of all the kids' names and their faces, pictures printed out? And you studied them like flashcards, right?
Yeah, I literally made flashcards with a picture of every student, their name, their grade, first and last name, their grade, and their instrument. I can't believe I did this because that's really hardcore, but
that's
I'm just
great,
patting
though.
my past self on the back.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
I don't
Because
know
you
if I can do
knew
that
who
now.
we all were before you even got there, and it was very oh my gosh, you care about this. That was cool.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that, and I knew every kid 9 through 12 in the marching band, which is 300 and something kids.
Yeah, in
based
June.
off of-
In June.
Because I did these flashcards, and then there was a point where I knew every kid's name 6 through 12 that was in the band program.
You were probably the only person in the whole. You didn't even work here. You're probably the only person that could do that. That is insane.
That was pretty crazy. That was cool.
Wow.
Okay, that's a good hot tip. That's a good memory though.
No, it is, and
You
that
know.
was before Power School made it really easy to pull that stuff up. You literally had to cut and paste.
Well, no, she drew a picture of you of what she thought Jack looked like, and so she looked at it. She's like, Jack, and you're like, hey.
Yeah, that's probably what I sounded like at 17 too. Hey, yeah, that's me.
You're like, what
No,
up?
you
What
were
up?
very well spoken. I was very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Mm.
Oh.
So that's Christa. That was Christa, and
That's
Krista's
cool.
still Christa. Like I'm sure that those like kid skills, those student like centered skills are still there. I mean, my gosh, that's incredible.
So what did you what does a K through 4 music teacher do? Like, what does
do you have to like just caffeinate yourself constantly?
Yes.
I can.
Is it like seriously?
Like, do you have like
Yes.
an IV like in the corner of the room, just like with straight espresso going into your blood?
I
Are
did
you-
have a Keurig in my classroom that I
Oh, then
used
your room
multiple
must have
times a
smelled
day.
awesome.
Oh yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, it did. Every time kids would come in, they'd be like, "It smells like coffee in here."
You're like, you have
Like,
no
yep,
idea.
Yep, it's great. Go Wildcats.
I love Wildcats.
Oh,
I
that's
love-
favorite. Hey,
How come
do re mi,
everything we-
do re mi. Guys, get
Guys,
the
how come
xylophones.
everything
Orph.
we do is Allegro. Why do you like Allegro so much? Huh? How come?
We are horrible podcast hosts.
Okay,
Oh my
sorry.
gosh,
Sorry,
we're like
we're just-
taking
we're
your
just-
entire runway
we're
with
just,
our
like,
stupid
running
jokes.
away from it. Okay, so what does K through 4 like at that time? Like, how many times did you see the kids a week?
Okay, so when I first started, I was very, very fortunate that the district allowed us to see our students twice a week for 40 minutes,
Wow.
which is more than the typical amount that
Sure.
an elementary music teacher would get to see their kids. It's a little bit less now. I think now it's once a week for 60 minutes.
Correct.
So what does an elementary music teacher do? Kids come into your classroom. You have a short amount of time to hook them into whatever's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You do the thing, which is, there's just so much that you can cover as an elementary music teacher. So you can have kids learning folk songs or folk dances. Maybe we're working on literacy, like reading music notation, traditional Western music notation. We might be working on vocal technique. We might be working on instrumental technique, playing xylophones or barred instruments. But what I always say is when it comes to teaching elementary school music, there are a lot of jobs that are more high stake, right? I'm not a doctor. Like, no one's going to die if I don't present the lesson well. No one's going to like lose thousands of dollars in some business transaction or, whatever. There are a few jobs, I think, that are more exhausting than teaching elementary school music. It is exhausting, and it is wonderful and beautiful. It's a great job, but holy smokes, because you have to be on nonstop. And it's like the kids come in, you do the show, the kids are working, blah, blah, blah. Best case scenario, the kids are working harder than you, but it takes time to build up that skill of giving the kids that ability to do that. And then they leave, and the next class comes in, and they leave, and the next class comes in, and then the next class comes in, and it's nonstop. It's a very, very tiring job.
You're basically doing like a sales pitch to get them hooked, right? But
Yes.
like you're doing it 8 times a day
Yes. Yeah.
on top of making.
And so
your
you
sure
made
you're
you, like,
managing. Wow.
K, and then like third grade the next class, and then second, then fourth. It may be all scrambled.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're running like Mondays, fourth grade, Tuesday.
Right.
Like you're not running
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
that's a good
lesson 3
point.
times in a row, 4 times in a row. It's like
Are
Could
you
be
a
all of them.
different teacher for the kindergarten? Like your personality, are you different for the kindergartners and the fourth graders?
When I first started off, for sure, I was very much like, okay, 5-year-olds, here we go. Here's my giant smile. And as the years went on, I just could not maintain that level of energy. So yes, I was a different teacher. By the time they're in fourth grade, I'm talking to them more like, not like they're grown-ups, but to me, they're the big
what
kids
you
in
have
it,
here
but-
is a dominant 7th chord. When you're singing that,
Just make sure that you
Paul,
lower
make
the
sure you
third,
lower the
fifth.
third and like
5
reach
cents.
up on the
Yep.
5th. Can I really open up in resonance, right?
Okay, now let's move on to the augmented
Exactly.
sixth.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that happens, though, with some people who are on that band director track and then become elementary music teachers. I feel like there's 2 different types of elementary music teacher.
This is great. I
This
love
is
this.
it. This is
I
it.
love this.
One. What's the one kind?
There's the one kind who, I'm not trying to offend anybody.
No, we are offensive.
I'm not
free.
offensive,
Alright.
but
Okay, so there's the type of elementary music teacher who was on the band director track and then just didn't make the cut as a band director or couldn't get a job as a band director and then fell back on elementary teaching. Again, I'm not trying
backstop. Okay, gotcha.
to offend anybody, but I do know this type of person,
absolutely,
hypothetically, right? And then there's another type of elementary music teacher who maybe they always knew they wanted to teach elementary music, which wasn't me, or they just reached a point where they were like, actually, this is amazing, and I want to learn everything about this.
Wow.
And you really dive in to learn as much as you possibly can, because when you're a music education major in college, you don't spend very much time on elementary music. You spend so much time on your primary instrument or teaching secondary or advanced music theory, like you were just joking about.
Right.
And that's good too. I think as an elementary music teacher, you have to have that strong musical background. But sometimes people find themselves accidentally in the elementary classroom, and then they just treat it like mini band, which isn't great for the students or great for the teachers either, I don't think.
Well, and like you're talking about what you learn in college, it's like I feel like I learned zero about management. I shouldn't say zero, but like that's something that you kind of have to be in the classroom for to practice, like student teaching or your internship or whatever. But I just have to imagine that the classroom management learning curve is pretty steep if you're teaching elementary, and you kind of have to figure that stuff out quick. And kind of what you're talking about, if you're expecting it to run like a high school, I can't imagine it will.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of elementary music programs where the teacher has that mini band mindset and then enjoys the job, or that the kids enjoy the class. And it's true that management does have such a steep learning curve. And it's one of those things you can read about classroom management in a textbook all day, or for a semester in college, and it's just not the same as actually getting in and actually doing it.
Did you guys have to lead like fake rehearsals with your college classmates? Did you guys do that?
Yes.
And then they're like told to like act up or like something. Did they ever do that? Like you kind of had to practice that?
I don't remember. I don't know. Did you?
I think I did. I always
you?
thought that was.
Yeah, we had to do grade school lesson stuff. And
yeah.
we had to teach.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically being told to like
or like
act up.
like told to act like an X-year-old or whatever. So yeah, I just was thinking about that.
That wasn't usually like a stretch for me. It'd be just like
they're like, Steve, can you actually like try to go shoot for 23 today, buddy?
Okay, kids, here we go.
Okay, so now current Christa is. Well, actually, you called yourself an entrepreneur, right? Is that you're like an entrepreneur now, right?
I am. I'm owning that I
Oh no,
am.
she's an entrepreneur, and you're a content creator for teachers. That sounds like so much more juvenile than what it actually is. You're making lesson plans, and teachers pay teachers, right? So can you talk about that experience, like that transition?
Absolutely. So, well, I'll back up a little bit. Along the way of my teaching and 10 years at Concord Westside teaching elementary music, I also realized that I really am also passionate about teaching teachers and providing professional development for teachers. And so I had a colleague, Jason Glasshauser, who was very encouraging to me, like early on when I was very young in my teaching, and he encouraged me to apply to speak at conferences and do all these different things. And so I was really fortunate that pretty early in my career, I was already presenting at teacher conferences and teaching teachers. And so that became a really important part of what I was doing alongside of my actual job, which was teaching kids.
Yeah.
And so I have been, like I said, really fortunate. I have presented at a lot of music teacher conferences, national conferences, state conferences, full day workshops. And I just really, really love empowering teachers to become the best version of themselves. And I like working with adults too.
Yeah.
And so I have a 2-year-old. She'll be 3 in July. And I, as we've kind of been implying, is I did transition out of the classroom. So I'm no longer at Concord Westside. Right now I'm focusing on my daughter and also focusing on teacher professional development. I'm actually presenting a workshop at a school district in Chicago next week
Hey,
That's
for
awesome.
music teachers.
And what are you presenting?
Supporting English language learners through creative play. So it's for elementary music teachers. And
Wonderful.
One thing we didn't say about Concord Westside is it's about, I think it's like 70% English language learners, primarily Spanish-speaking students. So it's an area that I have a lot of experience in.
Yeah.
And so I'm sharing that with teachers now. among other things. So back to the Teachers Pay Teachers thing. As I was realizing that I wanted to transition out of the traditional classroom, my husband Grant was on a few weeks ago.
Grant.
Yeah, he's pretty great. And one thing that he says, which actually maybe this quote was from somebody else and he just says it, but I always think that
I'm sure it's from Grant. He's smart.
He's a smart guy. But he says, you can do anything you want in life, but you can't do everything. Which is true, and that was kind of where I was at. Like, I want to be doing these things and teaching adults. I want to be starting this business of selling on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I want to be like an amazing mom and spend time with my daughter while she's still young. And so I had to make a change there. But so Teachers Pay Teachers it's like Etsy. In case you don't know, it's like Etsy for teachers, and it's all digital products. So teachers can sell lesson plans on there, or Google Slides, or classroom posters, things like that. And so last April, about a year ago, I launched my store, and it's gone really, really well. And so now I'm a business owner. I'm owning that.
So you do a store through TPT?
I do. So I sell on that platform. Sometime in this next year, one of my goals is to start my own website where I am selling directly from the website. Partly because then I can host my blog there and things like that, my future blog. But then the other thing is that, since we're talking business, I get to keep more of my profit when that happens, because TPT does take a cut.
Does take a cut.
So the good thing about TPT is that like it's out there for everybody. So when you're just getting started, you get like a lot of traffic. Like people can see it. Yeah. But then as you kind of get a more loyal clientele in people that are running into your goods, then you can kind of branch off and say, I'm Christa Jones over here. And the name of your business is what?
Enharmonic Education. And I love that name because if you are a music nerd, you know that enharmonic is actually a music theory term. So tell us what enharmonic is.
Well, enharmonic sounds the same, different name.
Ooh.
So it'd be like some people call me Steve and some people call me Mr. Peterson. They're both right, but the context is important. So I function as Steve and as Mr. Peterson. Depends how you relate to me.
But no matter what, you look the same.
I am the same.
Same
thing.
Yep.
So you're enharmonic, so it has like different names or your different approaches to different people.
Yep. So when I started this store, my thought was that I would start primarily providing resources for elementary music teachers. And then from there, I would kind of branch off into another passion of mine, which is classroom management, positive behavior support for gen ed teachers. When I was in college, I worked at a psychiatric hospital with kids. And so I learned a lot about behavior and psychology and child development and things like that there. And at Westside, for a while, I was the leader of our student academic and behavior strategies team. And so I would lead the team, and we met with all the chairs of the different divisions, so like the special ed chair, the ESL chair, and to find strategies for specific kids that needed some extra help along the way, or teachers who needed extra help along the way. All that to say, I thought that I would start selling to elementary music teachers and then kind of branch off into classroom management. Something happened right from the very start, though, which is that I had gen ed teachers who found me. It's like this audience found me that I wasn't reaching out to them yet. And so the business has actually I've pivoted quite a bit, where now I still do professional development for music teachers. That's still part of who I am. But as far as this business goes, my primary audience is actually gen ed teachers and even special ed teachers too, but not specifically music teachers. And I am finding a corner of the internet or a corner of the world where there are teachers who need some extra support with classroom management, and I want to help teach them how to use music as a tool for classroom management and connecting with kids. Okay. Now, I am very early on this journey. Like, I feel like I just kind of pivoted and now I'm going down that track. So I'm at the start of the journey and I'm learning a lot. but it's like a corner of the market also, since we're talking business here, where I have expertise and there is clearly a need because they found me immediately.
Okay. So this started last spring, kind of the spinoff, and can you speak to one of those the materials that came out like that was, you were like, oh wow, people have a thirst for this. What was that?
So when you start any new creative project, like a podcast, maybe hosting or something like that, it can be really intimidating to start off. You are in a vulnerable position where you're putting yourself out there. And so I found that it was sort of a steep learning curve to figure out how to even navigate the platform, what needed to happen behind the scenes with the documents. And I could go on and on about you need to flatten and secure your files and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm getting too much in my head about all this. I just need to practice making a thing and not worrying about what the content is that much. I just need to practice doing this. So I was really nervous about putting out a lesson plan or something like that because I was like, well, what's everyone going to think of it? Are they going to think this is good or bad or whatever? So the very first product that I made was actually just a bingo game. It was this music bingo game with like pop music, and the kids have to listen to the song and figure out the title of the song, and then they get to play bingo. So what happened was I put those out on the website in last April. And then a couple weeks later, I got my first sale, and I made like $3.20.
Yeah.
Or no, it was like $2, I think. And I was like, yeah. And then I started getting like a couple of sales a day or a few sales a week, and it was really, really exciting because based on what I heard from other sellers on this platform, that was really good. That was like better than average success rate for early sales. And then what happened was a month after I launched my store, a teacher on TikTok who I did not know posted one of my products on TikTok. She was like, okay, listen up, teachers. It's the end of the school year and your kids just turned in their Chromebooks and, you need something to do with them. Here's this bingo game that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. And she did this incredible advertisement for this bingo game, and it kind of took off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I actually get a notification on my phone whenever I get a sale. And so I was sitting with Grant one night, and my phone all of a sudden just went cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
And that's like literal cha-ching, right?
I mean, it was like $2 at a time.
But
still, if that happens
yeah,
enough times, that's a lot of money.
There you go.
It was great.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of how it started, where I was like, oh, actually, gen ed teachers want music materials too.
So that's interesting. Then you kind of let the market kind of help lead you. Like you have a number of skills and you have a number of interests, but you're like, what are the people saying they need? Okay. Like you kind of went to where their need or where that common question came back.
Yeah, and I did have some help along the way. I was able to go on actually it was a different podcast for TPT sellers, but it was basically like a free coaching call where I talked to somebody who was a very experienced seller, and I explained the situation and who I am, and I said, like, what would you do in this situation? She said, well, clearly, like, you found a need. So if I were you, I would keep trying to meet that need. So I did have some help in making that decision. But that doesn't mean that it was an easy decision to make, because I felt like I was having an identity crisis with all of this. Like, who am I? If I'm not teaching in the classroom with kids, even at that specific school, like I've been doing that for 10 years of my life. If I'm not doing these specific things, who even am I? And it was a tough transition to figure out, where do I fit in? How do I be like the best mom that I can be? And also still use the skills that I have and the passions that I have, the knowledge that I have. And how do I navigate all of that? It's been an interesting journey.
That is an interesting journey.
Have you used Teacher Pay Teachers?
Yeah, like once.
Yeah, I think I have too.
And I can't even remember what I bought or what I was into, but
it's definitely more elementary focused, primary focused. There are secondary teachers who sell, but it's way more elementary resources.
Well, I'm guessing there are some teachers listening that's like, Teachers Pay Teachers. How does, tell me more. Like, what would, like, if there's a teacher listening that's kind of like on the fence, maybe probably more about, I would guess, creating, because probably most teachers know about it, but like on the creating side, like what would you say about that?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because in the next year, so like by the start of 2025, I hope that I will be in a place where I can start, even as like a branch of what my business currently is, but helping other teachers get started on Teachers Pay Teachers.
Ooh.
Like I said before, I'm all about empowering teachers to take the next step and try the next thing, write for this publication, apply for this conference, because other people did that for me. And so I'm interested in, I don't know if it's a digital course or maybe a podcast or something, but I want to help other teachers get up on this too. Because
Jack, we should get signed up on this.
you really should, because most teachers, many teachers at least, already have so many resources that you've created for your kids. Maybe you went online and you searched for something and you just couldn't find what you needed, and so you made it yourself.
Dude,
Well,
the Super Sweet Book. Dude, we could sell that.
Super sweet book.
what's
Super
the
sweet.
book?
It's a method book we made for our concert band.
It's got like E flat magic, A flat tussle,
D flat doghouse,
Oh!
C world,
and F throwdown,
F throwdown.
and fourth hour Philharmonic daily warm ups.
Yes,
Okay. Is this going to be your first product?
could be. Jack
Copyright
Bound.
Chops podcast.
Yeah.
Dang, let's go.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about
Okay,
that.
All
let's
right.
get this
I'd
one
love
out.
All right, let's
Good.
get this on the road.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
Nice.
But to answer your question, any teacher who's been thinking about selling on Teachers Pay Teachers, absolutely give it a shot. It is one of those things where, like, you do have to put a lot into it to get a lot out of it. You know, a lot of people start selling on there thinking like, well, if I could like pay for my Starbucks for the month, then that would be amazing. And that's cool too. And that's where a lot of people are actually, that's their happy zone. It's more of like a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
I've come to the other side of it where it's very much a business for me.
Sure.
And so I've done, if anyone is interested in starting, there are so many podcasts and YouTube videos about how to start selling on TPT or Etsy or wherever. TPT is the best place for a teacher to start
Sure.
because we're all already there buying on that platform. And I did do tons of research prior to starting. And so I learned all about like what is SEO. It's search engine optimization. And so
Didn't know that.
yeah. So with SEO, you are basically, you know how when you look up something on Amazon, let's say you want to buy a blue raincoat, and the title of the product is blue raincoat, waterproof, kids, toddlers, you know,
Yes.
it's like super duper long. That's because they are trying to get as many keywords into the title so that if you search blue raincoat, you'll find it. Or if you search waterproof
Okay.
toddler raincoat, you'll find it. That's what SEO is. So you're trying to get all your keywords aligned.
So we need to rename the podcast.
Yeah.
Band director, teaching podcast, loving students, teachers, and content. And
Okay, don't rename your podcast, but if you do want to chat SEO, I would love to help you out with it.
we may need.
Yeah, we may need
some
it. We need a
keywords.
little collab. Yeah. Woo!
Okay, what's like if there's a pie chart of like making the content, like making the lesson plans versus all the other admin work that goes into TPT life that you're doing, what's that pie chart?
That's a great question. It obviously would vary from person to person, and it would vary from like years here in your business.
Sure.
Right now, my pie chart is definitely too heavy on like making Instagram posts and things like that, because even though marketing is important and
Yeah.
building your brand voice is important, part of it is I'm just trying to figure out who I even am in this in this corner of the
Sure.
internet. And so if I'm making an Instagram post, for example, or making a TikTok video, part of it is I'm just figuring out what am I doing and like what do I want to talk about. But the problem is that is not how I'm going to make more money and actually grow my business. So the way that I'm actually going to make money and grow my business is by creating more products and then eventually marketing.
Yeah,
more of them.
yeah.
But like right now I have, I'm really fortunate that I have some really loyal, followers or audience members, customers. And I feel like they're just waiting for me to put the next product
Wow.
out, which is such a good problem to have because like
That is
they're
great.
ready to buy and I just need to spend more time creating more resources. What ideally I would say for me currently, it would be like 80% product creation, 20% admin. So bookkeeping
Nice.
or doing keyword research.
Well, and you do a lot of social media stuff, right? Like you're probably thinking about that all the time, and that I see you at Enharmonic Education on Instagram, but I know you're working hard putting that stuff out and marketing all that. That's a lot.
It is. One thing I've started doing, which I didn't come up with this, I learned from other people, but I've started batching my content. And so the first week of the month, I batch all my emails. I send a weekly email newsletter. I have about 1,000 email subscribers, which is very exciting.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude,
I'll teach you all about it. I'll tell you how to do it.
Wow.
A lot of it has been because I've collaborated with other sellers.
Wow.
So I send them a weekly email. So the first week of the month, I schedule all my emails. Tuesdays at 10 a.m., my email goes out for the whole month, and I schedule those out. The second week of the month, I schedule all of my social media posts. Well, that hasn't happened yet this week, but I'm working on it. This is the second week of the month.
Okay.
And then the third and fourth weeks is all product creation.
Okay.
And so that has helped a lot. And that's just something I started like a month or two ago.
Sure.
I'm new to this.
Which
but
part do you enjoy the most?
email and product creation. I really don't love the social media part. I'm actually trying to, I think pretty soon I'm going to hire a VA, which is a virtual assistant, and start delegating some of those tasks.
Wow.
Because
Good for you.
if I can focus more on the things that I like and the things that are going to make me more money, then I can,
Dude, maybe we need a VA.
That's like the batching tasks.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a big thing. I mean, overall in anything, but I've kind of figured that out finally for the reels.
Yes.
I'll make them all at once, and then I haven't scheduled them. I haven't gotten on that yet, but I've seen that you can do that, right? Like on Instagram and TikTok. So I should do that too. But that saved me a ton of time too. I feel you.
Yeah. Anytime you if you're editing the episodes, like sit down for 3 hours and edit 3 episodes, or it probably takes you longer than that. But
yeah, totally, totally takes me longer.
Clearly, I've never done a podcast, but even like editing TikTok videos or reels or whatever, it's really time
That
consuming.
does take time. Yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
Wow.
But yeah, like anytime that you get distracted from something, it takes time to focus back in. So if
Yes.
I can just focus on writing emails and just like churn those out, then I feel like that's been a lot easier, especially because I'm working in very tiny time frames. So like when my daughter's at preschool, I have an hour to work, like 3 days a week. Or if she's napping, I have an hour to work. Or like when she goes to bed, I have an hour to work. So when I sit down at my desk, I need to know what I'm doing, or else I'm just going to waste my time.
Right?
Wow.
One thing that I wanted to get into, if we can go back a few years, I know that you were involved in a master's program, and maybe your project that I'm thinking of was part of your master's project. When you were at elementary school teacher, you put together basically an anthology of music from around the world that was representative of the families that you were serving and teaching at that school. And that was music maybe that they had, the students or parents had brought in. And it was kind of like this wonderful collaboration with students and families and parents, and then getting to know different music from different regions of the world, right?
Yeah, so I'll back up even a little bit further. When I first started at Westside, I realized pretty quickly that I needed to get to know my students and the cultures and families of my students. Like I said, the school is pretty diverse. It's about 70%, I think, English language learners, and I'm like a white lady, obviously. And so when I started off, of course, when you start teaching, you don't know what you're doing anyways. But I realized pretty quickly that when I was like flipping through my curriculum book that I was using at the time, if I ever had a song that was in Spanish, a lot of my students, not all of my students, but a lot of them really resonated with those songs, or they got really excited, or they would correct me on my pronunciation, or they would say, oh, no, that's not how it goes. It goes like this. Because what's really cool about folk music is that you can have so many different versions of a folk song, because folk music can change over time and geographical location or families. It's just like maybe you learned the itsy bitsy little spider and you learned the eensy weensy little spider. Like there can be variations.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember teaching this song to my first graders, like a few weeks into my first year teaching. Dale, 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 no pierdas latino, porque si lo pierdes, pierdes el camino. And it's a song that some families sing at a fiesta when they're hitting a piñata. And so the version that was written in my book, of course, I was like, okay, dale, dale. Like, okay, kids, we're going to learn this song. Dale, dale. And they were like, what the? Like,
Girl.
that is, bruh, that's not how the song goes.
Bruh, not like that. Okay.
And so they taught me the right way,
Sure.
which, to them
Sure.
was the right way. And I don't know, I just realized I needed to make stronger connections with the families at my school. And I have a deep love for folk music. When I was in high school band, I told you that I was in the two different bands at the same time, the upper band and the second band. And in the upper band one year, we were playing Lincolnshire Posy by Percy Grainger, which any band director in the room is familiar with that piece. And the last movement is The Lost Lady Found. Bum, 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 ba-da-ba-da-dum. And it's an old English folk song. So then in the second band, we were playing Green Bushes by Percy Grainger, which is very similar sounding, but it's in a different mode. There are some different cadences, different things that are happening. And I remember my band director saying, to me specifically, because I was in both the bands, like, does this sound familiar to you? And I was like, yeah. And then he explained to the whole band about how they were actually had come from the same folk song, but Percy Grainger, this composer, had traveled the English countryside recording folk singers, and in one part of the country he recorded The Lost Lady Found, which sounded like this and had these words, and then in a different part of the country he had recorded Green Bushes, which sounded like this and had these words. And my mind was like, oh my gosh,
how wonderful. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So that was where my love of folk music started.
That's cool.
So I had interest in exploring the folk music that was present in my school building. And then finally, by the time I got my master's degree at Vandercook College of Music in Chicago, I was like, oh, now's the time. Like, I have an excuse or whatever to do all this work to make this project happen. So I did invite families to teach me songs from their cultures if they wanted to. I also shared about my cultural music history of learning songs with my grandma. And throughout the course of the project, I think I had 175 song submissions.
That's awesome.
The families really, really got on board with it. It was really cool. And so I researched the songs and compiled them into a songbook. So then through my remaining years at Westside, that was my curricular material that I drew from, was this songbook.
Wonderful. Now, is that copy still available at Westside?
It is at Westside, and I will get you the link to it's online. It's housed online. It's like bit.ly family songbook, something like that. That's so cool. I'll get you the link.
That's awesome.
Because I also received permission from these families to share these songs out with the world, with other music teachers or musicians
Wonderful.
or whatever, so that
is it written out in music notation?
It is. Yep.
And then with the text.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty proud of it. It's cool. So the notation is there. If it's in a different language, there's a translation, English translation, and then a lot of these are like hand clapping games or circle games. And so if there's a game with it, there's directions.
Oh, that's cool.
Some of the songs have little stories to go with it. Like it'll be like, I learned this song on the playground in Mexico City, and it's from a quote from one of the students' moms or whatever. Wow. So it's a really, really cool collection, and I've shared it with a lot of music teachers, and I'll share it with you too.
Awesome.
We got a lot of sharing to do.
We got a lot of collabs.
Got a lot of this going on.
That's great.
So, Christa, that's a lot of interest you got going on, from the elementary classroom to the TPT to the training teachers to the creating your own business to being interested in the culture of your community. Boy, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, now that you say that, it is a lot. I'm kind of figuring it out one day at a time.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Well,
thank you for being on the show.
This is good. This is good,
This is really good. About 12 teachers just made TPT accounts in the last 5 minutes. You probably already have like 12 DMs in your Instagram. You're like, help? Yeah. That's awesome.
Actually, if you do find me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, please do DM me or comment or whatever what your questions are about starting a TPT store, because I want to help teachers.
Okay,
get
I'm
really
gonna
At Enharmonic Education, right?
Mhm.
On Instagram and TikTok
And Facebook.
and Facebook. Oh, you just got a Facebook too. Dang.
And Teachers Pay Teachers and
And-
Harmonic Education.
There you go. Yeah, teachers, if you need something a little before spring
Dang.
break, making the magic happen,
Okay, well,
music bingo.
if you like chops, go to chops_podcast at TikTok or at Instagram, or you can follow us on YouTube at Chops Podcast, or find the podcast on Apple and on Spotify and click that like and subscribe button. Give us a review and
And share it with your friends.
And share it with your friends. There you go.
right.
That's right.
So, now the good thing is, wrapping up the day here, it is about 5 o'clock, but now we get an extra hour of sunshine. So now this is like the payoff,
It's true.
right?
That's true. Now's the time.
You know, politicians are so wise. Wow, that's amazing. You walk out of school and it's like bright day.
We saved the daylight.
We saved the daylight. Save the daylight.
I'm going to a gym in the junior high. We got an orchestra concert tonight.
Oh, cool.
Sorry. No,
No,
that's
I'm
great.
actually playing drum set for it, so it'll be a fun
Oh,
time.
well, good luck.
Thank you. I hope to keep time well.
So you have to go there soon.
Yeah, pretty soon. Set up chairs, say hi to the kids, tune about 400 strings.
Yeah, just enough.
Just enough.
Okay.
That's how it
Well,
goes.
super. Well, I think it's about time to sign off. For Steve Peterson,
Christa Jones.
And Jack Hinkle.
we're out of here.
See ya.
Bye.